For a third and final time, the Hollywood Fringe Festival 2024 Post-Fringe Town Hall will be beginning in just a moment.
Carly, will you call Ellen's phone? I know we're not starting on time, Bart. I know. But here's the key. We're going to end on time.
I'm going to show after this.
Yes, it was. And they're kind of emerging from them. And they kind of
There you go. I think it makes sense. Yeah. I'll just get started with this thing. Yeah. Okay. Hey y'all. Okay. This is for the live stream, just so everyone knows. I am aware the microphone is not working in this room. All right. Grab a seat, everyone. Feel free to pull chairs up. All right. Yes. This is a great turnout for a postmortem. We love it.
We were
And we're
not
being
experiencing.
sarcastic. This is a great turnout.
We were expecting
Yeah.
like 6 people, so
Yeah.
this feels great.
So thank you, everyone, for your investment in the community. Awesome. We love a surprise. We love it. Okay. Y'all, we'll kick this thing off. We're going to talk a little bit at you, but overall, this is going to be about you talking at us. So know that our talking will be limited. If you don't already know us, I think at this point you do. Lois, she, her pronouns, visual description, white woman, mid-length, dark brown hair, currently wearing a white tank top and a bright green suit jacket. Welcome to our post-mortem. We love this event. We're here genuinely to ask questions and get your feedback, because our ideal here is to make the festival better. So we want that harsh feedback. I'm going to start out with a land acknowledgement. The Hollywood Fringe acknowledges that we are on the unceded lands of the Tongva, Quiche, Gabrielinos, and Gabrielinos. Our statement serves as a practice as we commit to furthering our connection to Indigenous communities, to past, present, and emerging. Thank you to John and Thymele for hosting us. We're always so happy to be here. The live stream is going. So no, this is live. All of YouTube is watching. So hello, everyone watching from home, and thank you, Haverty, for running that for us. We always throw Haverty so many hurdles, and he always makes it work. Please remember, in this space, like, we are here to take feedback, and feedback is not always nice, but the code of conduct still is in place. So with that, respect that everyone in this room had a very different Fringe experience. Right? We're going to have a lot of the same, either like good points or more problematic points, but everyone did have a at least slightly different experience. So know that every opinion in the room is valid, and that will make for a great conversation. Today's agenda, we'll just kind of talk about what this is going to be. We did slides this year to try to keep us focused, and to try, it never works, but we're going to try it. But mostly to also talk about some of the like behind the curtain stuff, because wanting like genuine feedback, we think it is helpful to provide some facts and some of like what our parameters are and what our hurdles are, because then we can tank and get to some amazing solutions for the problems we're all having. Let's stay positive and constructive. Like I said, it's not necessarily just good feedback. That's not what we're saying. But staying constructive, like if you have a resolution, awesome. Like, or at least know that like, okay, this might be a longer plan. So like, yeah, coming with ideas is amazing. But let's always just keep the tone friendly. There's no bad ideas.
And we just want to be time efficient, because we want to be able to get through like our entire agenda. We're going to go through our entire agenda as like a preview, so you can know when things are going to come up. And then we'll go slide by slide by slide and get through everything. And then at the end, we're going to have like dream time and big time to be like, this is what Fringe could grow into in the next 5 years. So in the most of this, we're going to talk about pivoting small, in the capacity that the Fringe organization has to create within a year. And then in the end, we get to like have those bigger dream moments where we get to kind of maybe have touchstones about other programs that could exist, or things that you see are kind of lacking in the community that we could provide.
Like those big swings, because this year, we are making a 5-year plan. It is time for that next 5-year plan. So we do want to hear those like huge dreams that like maybe are actually possible just yet, but that we can have like on the back burner, ready to swing when we get that foundation money, that will really turn things around. If when I'm positive thinking, when this, thank you, yes and here, yes and. But down to the couple little points. Settlements have gone out just in case that you missed that email, though, because sometimes things go to junk. If you were the primary producer on your project and you have not gotten a check yet, that may be because you did not request one. So go to hollywoodfringe.org/settlement. And you can request your check. That's where we get like the survey to know like what your in-person box office was, so that we can add that to our annual report later. And that is also where you give us your most recent address to make sure we send it to the right place. And I know about at least an eighth of participants have not done that yet. So if you are one of those that, we want to make sure you get your money. If you did request a check and you have not received a check at least 8 days after that request, email support. There might be a problem. USPS is not perfect. So let us know and we'll settle that up for you. With that, let's get this going, shall we?
Yeah.
Slideshow time.
So we really wanted to talk a little bit about the model of Fringe, the process of how things work, just in case people in this room might be audience members, or you might not have that like full artist experience in your mind. The team behind Fringe, just to give some context on like our capabilities. And some stats from this year, so you can see like kind of those growth points that we're already looking at and things that we want to change. Who are we? We're 3 things. We're a non-juried open access for artists festival. It's a platform for new self-produced works. Of course, there's other things that happen at the festival that might be have produced before, or it might be not fit into this model, but most people end up doing new self-produced works. And 100% of ticket sales go back to artists. That's our mission. That is what we stick to when it comes to the festival.
And that will not change. I'm going to name that in this room just in case you're like, it should be curated. there are other places to do that work, but these are sticking points for us. Tickets will always go back to artists 100%. We will always be open access, and it is self-produced work at the festival. Next slide. Thank you, Carly.
So the process for artists is that they create a project, they find and book a venue in the Fringe zone, they register with Fringe, boom, Fringe artists. That is the process. As you all know, what we promise with registration is promotion, ticket sales, support, press and industry, connections, web presence, discounted advertising, educational and networking events, and community. Obviously, not every single person that does a Fringe show gets every single one of those categories, but those are the things that we are producing and trying to make sure are present at the festival. And then a little bit of like some background. Lois and I just in May 2023 became minimum wage full-time, and now we're full-time a little bit less than minimum wage, or a little bit more.
Legally a little bit more. Note the 40 plus hours a week because the plus comes in.
And it just when it comes to our org at this moment, when something is like not happening with the rest of our team, it just falls to us to do it, which means that something just didn't happen this year that we were like really excited to do, but our team just didn't have capacity. We have Sina, our development director. She's 12 hours a week. This also started in October of last year. Before that, she was also just like us. Like there was, when we started at Fringe, it was like a $2,000 in a stipend, and then it grew to more. And now it's at these hourly rates. And then communications director Carly in that same boat. And then we brought on Robbie starting 24 hours a week, which was amazing, but it only started in April. So we're really, really excited to see how this year will look with that full like support throughout the year, because Robbie will be continuing with us, and these will be the minimum hours for our staff year round. And it might increase depending on what we do for next year. We don't know yet.
Foundations that we're making up.
If you are a funder, please give us money and we can hire more people. And then we also have many different staff members that join us during the festival between 20 to 40 hours a week. And that usually happens about like May 1st.
So Trevor, who you see, Haverty, like a lot of those people on site at Fringe Central, those are just for May and June and are not year round. I'm also going to note for anyone on the live stream, Carly, communications director, is on the chat. So please jump in, get involved on that chat, and we'll make sure that information comes into this room.
We're going to get into stats now. This was a random stat to start with, but we're starting with random stats. Random stats.
I thought it was so interesting.
Our team answered a lot of emails. We produced a lot of events. We applied for a lot of grants, and we haven't received a lot of them, but we did receive quite a bit more than we have in the past, and so we are in a growth spurt, which feels nice. Next slide, please. Just to kind of compare some years, last year was an incredible year. We had the best ticket sales we've ever had, which feels amazing.
This year. Yeah.
2024. And so we're comparing it here to 2019. Blech. I'm so sorry. I'm so tired. Between 2019 and 2024, we had this sort of growth. We had less performances with more ticket income, but we kind of sold the same amount of tickets as we did in 2019. So we're hoping that next year we're going to be able to push that even further. This is just our online data, so we haven't even pulled the data which you have taken at the doors.
Because we're still waiting on some of those requested checks, and then we'll have that information.
But 2019 has been a nice reference point for us, and y'all can. Our artists killed it this year. They really did. In the next slide, we also want to talk about just like some like little things. May was a slow month for ticket sales for us this year. We've never seen that. We had a really hard time selling tickets in May. I don't know.
It jumped, like it got higher than ever. But like these are like things as artists, it's important to know. Like, so if you were like in May, like, oh my God, where like nobody's buying tickets, you were not alone. Everyone.
Yeah, it's always going to be in June, and it's always going to be the same amount of days. It just depends on how the weekends fall. Yeah. It was just, it was like, but the 4 week, because just to name, we had an extra week this year of ticket sales, which was great. But then it just that entirety of 6 weeks was just slower than it's ever been. Yeah. And we still have a heavy live stream ticketing, which was good to see. People didn't make a lot of money from live stream, but they definitely did sell a lot of tickets to their live streams. That average ticket price we don't have yet. It'll be in our annual report.
And no, a lot of the things were like bringing to you now, like, are of course the data from the site for ticket sales and things, but also from the survey data we've already collected. We've been sending out the artist survey in every email, so we're kind of giving you some of those stats. So these are going to be changing up until we send out the annual report, which will like concrete, give everything, but like this. It's always interesting to have a conversation starter, right? So, for example, 72% of artists who did the survey so far said they made their money back or were within budget at this year's festival.
Phew, that's a good number.
That's the
That's the highest we've ever had. I will say that's coming from about a 50% number. And also our comps were down. Our comps were way down. We were just at 16% this year.
No, please, and that's right, because
this is the comps. The comps is from our tickets. Yeah, the comps is so the number of comps that we sold, the $0 tickets. This is from that. This is the data from our website.
Okay, we're gonna get to questions, I promise.
There's the pressing the comp button.
Yes.
Tell it's live stream.
Okay, you are pressing the comp button, but there's also the fringe code.
This
that
is
would get the
all
ticket down to
$0 tickets. Yeah. So what? Yeah. So we will finish our sentences, and then you guys will hear. I'm sorry. This is why. This is our literal ticketing data, and that was interesting to us because one thing that we got coming into this year was like comps were just insane for people. And that was something that we really want to accomplish. It ended up being down. We might want to talk in our comp section about kind of how to navigate that in the future. 16% of tickets is still a fucking lot.
Yeah.
That's still a lot. 16% of all of the 47,000 tickets were comps. That's still a lot of comps.
But comparatively,
compared to the past, things did change.
It's a lot from the past years, like in past fringes, and that's the thing. Remember too, and that's why we're kind of going through this, especially for like first-time fringers. The fringe model, there's not a standard for it in a lot of ways, and like of course there's other fringes around the world, but it's all very city-based and what the artists that year need or want, and because for some artists it is about just sharing, seeing work and giving work. And that's so like it's hard to compare anything to like an East-West Players run because they don't have the same goals. Hell, we don't even know your goals until after when we learn from you what your goals are. So this is merely just like to give a frame of reference.
So 16% of tickets this year were comped versus 28% in 2019 and 20% last year. So what we're saying is it's a problem, but we do see that this year was in a new direction, and we're curious to see how that felt for other people. But again, there was 380 productions, so one person experience might be vastly different than another person's. But yeah. There were so many women and non-binary people this year. It was amazing.
Yes. Which is not the average in the theater sector, right? So.
Or in Fringe, we've seen that we saw another increase there, and we did not in our playwrights of color. So that's another thing that we need to challenge as an organization, is that we did not have an increase in playwrights of color. It stayed consistent.
And I will note our scholarships were down this year because of funding, putting more money into less scholarships for like our scholarship program that funds BIPOC work at the festival. So like that's something to note, because if you want it, you fund it.
It also, because the funding did get cut too. Just to be clear, the reason that we did less is because we did not get funding for it, period, this year. And so next year we'll be looking into changing up the program a bit.
Next slide.
These are all the topics we're going to go over.
I know, right? Some of them are quick. It'll be fine.
We went through our survey data that we've gotten already, and we started to put in some comments. That way they can kind of like brain spark some information. And we also like flagged some that were like, we're already working on this. We don't have to discuss it. It's already a problem.
Clocked.
Clocked, changing. And then some things that were just like, I'm super curious and we want to dive into a little bit deeper, because there's some things that are so hard to unpack in a survey form.
Yeah.
And when you see something on there, feel free to shout it out again, or feel free to like bring up something completely different. It's just there as a jumping off point.
And know that this is not the last time this conversation is going to happen either. Like I hope we've been accessible. Like that is our goal as leadership in the festival, is to make sure that we are people you can come to and be like, you know what, like in 2 months, if you're like, I have a fucking great idea, please email us. You know, we want to have, because that's how the festival grows and becomes better, because we serve you. This is not just I mean, it's a lot of fun and we love what we do, but at the end of the day, if we're not serving who our community is, then what are we doing? Like, so yeah. Next slide. Let's start with the easy ones. Right? So let's talk tech. So this is when we're gonna start, and everybody's gonna scream and yell if you have something to add without a microphone. So just when it comes time to have this conversation, raise your hand, introduce yourself, remind people what your show was, and then jump in with your talking points. But let's talk general website, and this is one we've definitely talked a lot about as an org already.
We're going to be redoing our website this fall.
Yes.
It is going to look completely different starting next year, including like wayfinding and how to find resources and information, as well as how like the ticketing, like not the ticketing experience, but how you get to the ticketing experience as an audience member.
And as an artist, how you navigate all of there's a lot of information and it's everywhere. So our goal is really to jump into, it's 2024 and we want our website to look like it.
So that is the biggest note, that we are making changes on where things are and how to wayfind, because that was the problem. It always has been.
Yeah. So yeah, that's on it. It's happening January 1st. We're gonna, oh, Carly, can we go back to that one actually? Sorry. We're gonna we're gonna have something to present to y'all. But additionally, some things that already came through that we think could spark more conversation was filter the schedule for specific venues. And I'm gonna note, yeah, and some of these things, like, we can't make any promises, but but it also comes down to our developer and what like we can do. But we love it. That sounds amazing.
And it wasn't on our thing. That's why fill out our stuff, because it
Yeah.
makes us think a thing.
Yes. Parking information for individual venues. Yeah, like it's on there kind of. So how can we make sure that information is easier to access? We hear you. And I want to bring this up mostly because I think this could be a great conversation, but there was feedback about producers not being able to cancel or refund their tickets. I will say I hear that, and I know that there's some shows, because right now some shows would love to, other shows don't want to have to mess with it. And we do need consistency across the festival. Otherwise, there's the audience member of, I went to Sam's show and I was able to get a refund, no problem. I went to Abel's show and no luck, and then we have angry audience members. So while maybe there's something to be said for more communication or how we can make that easier for you, I don't know.
I don't think it would become.
How deep we could get into that.
Yeah, but I do want to talk a little bit about, like, would it be helpful? Like, did you
What would be
have
helpful?
and did you have enough? Did you seem like your support answers were being answered in time for you to make the decisions you needed to make in the middle of the festival? I think it's going to be what we can figure out. It's like, how do we make sure we're scheduling our support hours on our ticketing side of things to make sure our staff is there and you don't have to worry, which already was happening way more than it ever has, but still wasn't perfect.
Yeah. And then the search feature wasn't working great this year. Clocked. Yeah. There was some tricky elements to that. So that's going to be on the person who develops our website. That's something we're already looking into making stronger. And then, yeah, so those are some ideas. Again, this is just starting point. Anything tech website as far as the functionality.
Yeah.
Do we have? Yeah, we're going to do a run, and then if we can just pass this through this real quick.
This is a potential solution for the ticketing thing that maybe could address both of those, but I wonder, and I don't know if this would make it easier, I wonder if instead of individual emails, if there's like a form that we could fill out that would then batch, and so then the staff would be able to access that form all at once instead of individual emails one at a time.
We have a Zendesk. We use Zendesk just to let y'all know how we go through our email systems. I do love how we can track who did what in Zendesk. So we know when something is made as a mistake, we can track who made it out of the 6 people who are working on tickets. That's the one thing, is that it's 6 people in order to cover it. But I don't know. We'll see if there's, I'm not sure. I think Zendesk is the best solution.
Because it kind of acts as.
Yeah.
I think we're just gonna have to get
It's here. Something that was challenging for me sometimes was the inbox system on the website, which it was the same thing last year, and I just was like, it's fine, but I think not having a filter system or being able to keyword search, I found limiting sometimes because if I wanted to just copy and paste the thank you for seeing our show, I'd have to like next to find the one I want. So I think if there was a way to at least keyword search in the inbox, that would be helpful. But if not, I'm okay with it. But it'd be nice.
Get that one down. Keyword search.
Oh no, and we're writing all of it down. Yeah. Yeah, and just so you know too, we're gonna rewatch this like 9 times between now and January as we're rebuilding, because like we're, you know, as things come up. So yeah.
This might be more of a. I'm Maddie. My show was Rectangles. This might be a ticketing thing, but when people bought a ticket, more than other shows I've been to, they just would forget the time or something. So like, a way for when they buy the ticket for it to prompt a Google Calendar event in their thing, because a lot of other ticketing things do that, and some people are just like bad at putting it in, and they should just be good at it. But it would be so easy to maybe put that in.
Yeah, no, I hear you. We'll bring that up to our developer because it does clock it in the calendar. I don't know if anyone caught the like hollywoodfringe.org/calendar when you're logged in, right? But yeah, it really is. You're not wrong. It's the audience who buys like 2 tickets. Like they're not investing enough time into the Fringe experience to like warrant paying attention to the calendar. Yeah. So yeah, no, that'd be bomb. I don't know. That'd be great. If it's possible, check.
There was a small thing. Sam, I show with Sam. There was a preview tag that could be on the preview performances, and it wasn't on my preview performances, so people thought my previews were my openings, but I saw other shows had theirs labeled as previews, so I guess just making sure everyone has their previews labeled. I don't know if that's
Did you have your preview during the actual run of the festival?
I don't know. I mean, it was the 6th and the 10th.
That should have been a preview performance. That's weird.
Yeah. I emailed you guys and it was changed later, but it was after all the tickets were gone, so everyone just thought it was opening. But so I guess just making sure that previews are labeled as previews.
that should have. I'm gonna name that as a bug. Like that should have absolutely been the case.
Yes. And then there was one other. I mean, you guys already know about it, but there was like some miscommunications with like performances that were being canceled. Mine were, of course, because of COVID, and then having to move tickets to other performances. And there were just some things, communications with venues, just about like performances needed to be like canceled and all tickets needed to be done so they could fill those performance slots again. I don't know if that was an actual thing, but that's just something that came up. I don't know what the actual tech stuff is, but that was just a little bit of a challenge when that was happening.
And I think that was more venue specific, if I'm remembering, because I think there was a lot of people on that case, but
totally.
If I remember, it was definitely But yes,
cool. I think. So I don't know if that's like a tech thing or if that was just a. Yeah.
I think it was more of a communication thing because it was 4 different groups of people. Yeah.
Totally. Just I mentioned.
Yeah. Oh. Did you have a question? Oh. Did you have a question?
I do. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm Crystal Keith. My show was In for a Penny, and I really loved the calendar feature, but it didn't always work, and sometimes. It would populate my schedule with like every performance of a show that I had scheduled in. It's not a big deal, but when you are trying to like do the whole Fringe thing, it's a little extra.
So I just so I understand the bug, because that sounds exactly like it shouldn't have happened that way. Was it like you bought tickets to a show and it populated it with all of the performances?
Yes.
Same.
Yeah. I bought tickets to a performance, and then all of those performances
popped
would
in.
appear on
That's
my
good to
schedule.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
is true.
what
Yeah,
happens?
it's favorites, yes, and that's so that you remember that you did want to see it.
If you
so
put
that's
something
intentional, but
in
not the
favorites.
purchase.
It shows up in all the different. Okay.
Yes.
Good to know.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's don't forget you want to go to this show. Which is great for ticket buyers, but I get like not ideal when you're
I'm
like
still figuring it out. So thank you for explaining that.
But let me know if what I was saying, like it shouldn't work the other way, where if you buy a ticket, it should be like this is the performance, not all options.
Our average ticket buyer buys like 3 shows. These like 3 shows, just to let you know too. So they're having a very different experience than the artist experience on the viewing of ticket sides. I just wanted to name that.
Hey, at the very beginning of the festival, prior to the festival, in the month of May, I actually had some people and some veterans inquire that they wish the office hours were front-loaded, and you didn't really have to click anywhere to get to the events, where they were, and the dates. I found that there was a little bit of navigating going on there, and since that's the most important part of the festival at the very beginning, to just front-load that and make that like front and center, maybe on the front page or something, just so everybody has those dates, places, and yeah.
Mobile is tough, yeah, and mobile is something that's gonna get redone. And yeah, that front page in general, like, well, at least like we're looking at maybe having like, I mean, a whole section where it's artists. Like, if I'm an artist, I'm gonna go to this tab. This is gonna be my happy tab, where like, because it is tricky. Like, especially May is tricky because I feel like leading up to May, and I'm only naming this because maybe you have solutions, y'all. In May we shift. We're halfway audience and halfway artist, right? Because the artist still needs to be served as we build toward June, but then the audience, we don't want to forget them because then you don't have people in your seats. And so we play this really fine line game of making sure the website is sufficient for both. But we're hopeful that the new front page will allow for like audience and artist sections.
And we do always post a reminder on social. I feel like one thing for artists, especially to be able to track things that are going, we do post every single event on social multiple times, including the day of, so that it's that easy access and you can just go, okay, where is it? I'm going to either Instagram or Facebook, and it's right there. Those are our active social media accounts right now. Yeah, is that helpful?
Yeah, no, yeah, because I think marketing and communication on how we're getting information is so important. Like, how many people kept up with like upcoming events on the artist side on social? Okay, what about the newsletter? Okay, what about like completely reliant on like, I'm going to go to the website because I know it's coming up. Okay. Yeah. Are there any other avenues that I'm forgetting that people found their information? Yeah.
If I ever saw something in the newsletter or in your announcements, I would just write it in my personal calendar. Yeah. I never wanted to go back to the website if I did. That's seriously,
fair.
if I didn't have to, because it was so overwhelming and that's the way I am naturally. I just write things down, and so that's how I kept myself organized. Yeah. Even with the shows I wanted to see, I wrote them in my calendar. You know.
I hear that, and we do have the calendar for events, right. But I think getting that out earlier too. Like, how many, and then the blog, like, yeah.
The blog, so. It's so hard, and this is why it's so hard to disseminate information, because like we created a short link. It was like hollywoodfringe.org/events, where all of the artist events would come up and you could have them all in a row. And if you just type that into your Google search. And I think sometimes, and what we really would love to like unpack a little bit in this session is, where are the communication gaps and how we're getting that information to people to find this information? Because I feel like sometimes we're putting it out into the ethers, but it's not getting seen anyway. And I think we have to figure out what are the most like helpful. Is it like the website having it on mobile? I think it's a big thing that we didn't have. Yeah.
We work smarter, not harder. Because if we're doing all these things but it's not reaching, then the job isn't being done, right? Yeah.
One suggestion I have that I don't know how feasible it is because it requires more time and work is. I love the newsletter so much, and I would read it every week. Thank you, Roddy. And but if it came out the day of and a different day, because sometimes I would get it and I'd be like, oh my God, there's so much stuff today that I forgot about. But like a 2-time-a-week newsletter, I think would help. And generally speaking, I think newsletter over social media sometimes, because I was just talking to Abel about this. It's going to people who are invested in social media. It's always a crapshoot.
When I was just thinking about the website, I would always go to the website and go to the little drop-down menu, and that's where I was going. So if all the events are on the one events tab of everything ever, that'd be great. Just like one tap, and then from the homepage, and I'm good.
So if we were to do, like I said, we're using drop downs because we're gonna join 2024 and we're gonna drop down some menus. And if we did, especially for these like in between months where it's artists and audience equally being served, if we did a drop down that was just artist tab, and then all of these, like, I mean, let's be honest, there's probably 15 links that are useful on a weekly basis. Would that be something that would be helpful? Great, Roddy, we're doing it.
The live stream has questions.
The live stream has questions.
Okay, Joe Gold says there's no easy way to get to the inbox except by clicking on the email notification. And then Ruby and the Ramon Show added, It would be great if the Fringers inbox could get a total facelift. At the very least, 3 separate inboxes: an inbox, an outbox, and a drafts folder.
That would be helpful. Yeah. Do we not see there's a little envelope? Or how many,
Yeah,
I guess, how many people are using?
that's what I was gonna say. Is that the envelope, even on multiple desktops or whatever,
Yeah.
it's hard to get. I even have to like scroll
Got
and
you.
pull the window open and close to get it to appear.
Oh.
So it doesn't always appear. Yeah. So if it could be up on the top or be in a drop down of like in your account setting, like your inbox
Interesting.
something.
Yeah.
Little envelope is hard to get to appear.
I hate the messaging system as well. I'm just gonna name like it is, and it's something outside of Hollywood Fringe's control. Would it be easier to not have it?
Oh no.
Okay.
No.
No, that's good. And not the we're
Getting
saying it, like-
crazy.
No. But like, we would have to find another solution for that,
Yeah.
right? But I'm saying, is it easier to have contact lists and things where you do things through an actual messaging site, or is it easier to have this bespoke messaging site?
If there are people who don't have their emails accessible on the ticketing site, then you can't talk to
And
them.
that is the case, right? 'Cause sometimes, like, we have to get permission. It's the law. And if they say they are not comfortable with us sharing their email with y'all on your will call lists, that is the way you still can email your patrons because it's encrypted and the information is not accessible. They're still getting the emails. Yeah, so it is a pretty important piece
Yes, sorry,
that
what?
needs some work.
Yes. And for Sam, we actually made a separate account for admin, like ticket admin. But like halfway through our run, we weren't able to access the inbox at all. So we were receiving messages and receiving comp requests, and we couldn't access them. So I just removed it and did it through mine. But I know Van Life was also experiencing that. Like they weren't getting messages at all. They couldn't access their inbox at all. So just a tech thing, but it was like, oh shit. Yeah.
We're gonna have a question.
2 more. Xander, just to comment, the tab system would be stellar. And TL mentioned, I couldn't find a clear pathway for deaf and hard of hearing to find accessible shows in ASL. I searched and nothing came up.
Okay, no, that's good to know. And we're going to have a whole section on accessibility because that's another one that, like, we've made progress, but we're not there yet. So getting some feedback there is going to be helpful. Yeah.
2 things off of the inbox. Very small thing, but if it gets a facelift and attachments are allowed, that would be great. Like being able to upload our press release, but if we were to send it to people, we just had to copy and paste the content. So I think if we could share like a poster, an ad, if that's not any legal issues or whatever, I'm not sure. That'd be cool. Cool. And then I have a discount code thought question. Let me know if is that not here?
Yeah.
Great. I'll come back.
Anywhere before we go to registration.
Yeah.
We're gonna go right back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Go through every step.
So when someone buys a ticket, there's like that little thing, anything else, and they can add a comment. And there were times where I would notice only after my show was done, someone requested my press release or something like that. I'm wondering if there's a way that notification a little more prominent.
Are you talking about, like, the ones that show up on the will call?
Yes.
Yeah. I think we'll definitely talk more about that because that kind of bleeds into accessibility requests and, like, the ticketing side in general. And I think we'll only stick to it that way we don't end up, like, without time and we miss big things. But no, let's talk more about that in ticketing for sure. Anything, like, so website, think of more of, like, the website experience, the functionality of the, like, really the front page and information sharing. Great. Ben's going to have his work cut out for him on that messaging. Let's talk registration.
We are going to keep our prices the same, but we're considering dropping the single performance option just because it's not, we don't feel like we can provide the impact with one show to make it worth taking their money. And that's pretty much it. But any comments about registration, like registering experience, we'll get to booking a venue in a second. But anything regarding registration as a whole.
If you have strong feelings about the single performance option.
Not a crazy thing, and it would just like be nice and ideal. But just from like a money standpoint, like for the artists, I think like I was so fortunate to receive one of the artist fund. I was a recipient of it, and it was $500, but $300 went to registration. And I guess it would have been cool if it was maybe free registration, and then like the like award was maybe $500 towards my show. Just a thought. It was just something that I don't know, but just want to throw it out there.
We can't. Sorry.
Yeah.
We're
ideal,
yeah. Like the truth is that if we could do it, we wouldn't provide registration. But I want to remind us that we made $69,000 in grants, and we have to make all the rest of that in registration and ticketing fees, because all of the stuff goes back to artists otherwise, and we don't have a ton of earned income outside of that. We really don't. And so it really, and the way that the artist fund works is 25% of all funds raised just goes right directly into that artist fund stipend. So it's the stop we can do for now. Yeah.
But note that is like the ultimate goal is we would love more than anything to be at a place where the platform is free, because the arts fucking needs that opportunity, right? Like we're not, and when we get to a point where we can and still facilitate all of the programming and the the website maintenance, yeah, we'd love it. So again, foundations. We love your money. Yeah, we love your money. Yeah, we'll give it to them. I'm serious. All right, and yeah.
Well, okay, so this is in regards to the free or single performance registration. Pretty much based on what you guys just said, realizing that there's so little money to be made by the Fringe organization. I'm going to be the villain here, but I would hate to have somebody get to play in the same sandbox that everyone else is playing in and not have to pay for it. I don't know. Well, yeah, so if you're a single performance or you're free, you're still part of the Fringe organization.
It's eliminating the cheaper option. Because, yeah, it's $300 no matter what. And a lot of, like,
I see.
So our thought behind it, because, yeah, right, it would be a little unfair if, like, some people have to pay and some people don't. Like, best of luck. But that's icky. But the idea is that we don't want to encourage, and people still can do one performance, and it's 175 versus 300 too. It's not like it's thousands of dollars in difference, but we feel like, and we might be wrong, but we're encouraging an opportunity that is really not viable. Like nobody's making their money back with performance.
And I want to name that the people that register under that don't do Fringe, and so then they don't have any benefit that is seen, and then they just don't come back, or sometimes just cancel their show. It's a inconsistent thing. I think on the Fringe. But even some don't end up just canceling more often because they don't. There was just like, oh, I guess I'm just gonna register my June show as 175, and then they're like, oh, I'm not gonna. It's just a complicated thing, and we're kind of like keeping it for free or pay what you can performances will probably be the case, because we do see the value set and like people just having that discount and encouragement to have free tickets for their community. We see that as a perk, but we're also open to feedback there.
We don't care. It's fine either way.
Next slide.
Okay, next slide. Booking a venue.
82% of artists this year found the pricing for their venue reasonable. Again, an increase, which was we were happy to see. Some feedback that we were looking through. Somebody was asking for some way to rate the venues that they worked with in the past, and that was a little bit tricky in us considering, because we were like,
go downhill
that
fast
could go downhill
on,
so
fast. Or defamation and but we're curious about it, so we love think tank.
And it also just feel like the feedback, I want to be clear, we are sending from our survey the feedback to the venues that goes through our survey, so they will get that feedback point still. I just don't know if it needs to be in quite such a public manner.
Yeah, and is that not maybe what Office Hours
or Yelp
provides? Right, you get to the whole point is kind of the knowledge share. So if you're at Office Hours, oh, I'm thinking about booking this venue. Have you worked with them before? Any thoughts? It kind of happens organically, but we were curious about it because we've seen it once or twice before.
Or any other venue stuff.
Yeah. we're a sports organization, we could.
So I had a few friends that came in a little late and were looking to book a venue, and they made comment. They said, "I really want to be along Theater Row. I want to be close to Plunge. I don't want a place that's kind of off the beaten path where Central Fringe is." And I'm wondering if you're moving towards venues that are really central and consolidated within a very specific space. So it's a completely social experience within 6 blocks, as opposed to any kind of peripheral venues that are, a mile or two away from that central area.
If you know enough venues that will do Fringe at a reasonable rate, that'd be great. But I do want to name that the reason that we work with the venues in the systems that we do is because they are able to discount their rates in those ways. And we don't have like major plans of expansion, but I think we do have plans when we do expand to make sure there's clusters, so no venues alone. I think that's like our number one goal, is that no venue is an island.
And we've made, definitely thoughtful choices in like as new venues get added to it. Like I know like we've been in talks with Greenway and they're going to be a venue next year. And now we're adding to like the Zephyr Best Comedy Club Near Me cluster. And so looking at like walkable days, but arguably it's less spread out now than it used to be in a lot of ways. And it's, honestly, so much of it is economy
Part of
too.
the problem's the complex,
Yeah.
But we also didn't sell out our venues this year. I also want to name, like, we didn't sell out a venue space within the Fringe zone. And a lot of our venues were really packed and had a good experience. And, like, it wasn't like that either, where it was like, oh, no, we didn't sell out. But there is still room within the zone. I'm not saying that we're not going to move our zone, but I am saying that it would have to take a lot more conversation, I think.
We're not going to move our zone. We might expand when necessary, when we see that the ecosystem needs it. But
But there's a cluster of things so that it can be a new experience of Fringe, rather like add in new little pockets rather than and add to the pockets that we have. I think it's going to be a huge thing, is adding to the pockets.
Can I ask a question? This all we end up jumping back and forth because it all blends together. But how many people would plan like their days of fringing around location? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like we kind of do the same thing. So maybe there's something there for like mapping it out for like this could be a day. This could like kind of naming those clusters in the map. Yeah. Creating little days. Yeah. You have a question over here? Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question about like booking the venue. So I was the first time booking a venue, so it was kind of overwhelming when you had to apply to each one. I was wondering if there was a way to make it more first time friendly with kind of like a top sheet that was like Fringe of like giving what the breakdown was of like, here's the venue cost, here's the stage manager fee, here is this, so that everyone knows the same playing ground.
But
I think we would never be able to require that our venues use that, but I think providing a template might help, especially ask the right questions, and especially for new folks. I think that's a good, especially for new venues. I think that's a good.
And because like it is an open market too. That's something to remember on the like the business side of things. At the end of the day, you're building relationships with these businesses, right? That of course offer Fringe discounts and offer a different way of doing business during Fringe. But like it would be really not okay legally for us to be like, here is all the price options. Now go forth and like you have to that bit of research you do on your own is what makes it all legal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think some people were like, some venues like offered awards. So I think some people were then upset that they're like, oh, I booked a venue and they didn't have awards, or they did have awards. So I think
is also a whole
oh,
thing.
okay. Yeah. But I know that was just like a thing that some people.
We'll talk about awards in a while, and I think that won't. Like awards aren't changing. We changed them this year because we needed to make like a minimum of what awards are going to be. But yeah, that was a very this year specific issue.
But I will but knowing that information earlier is something that seems like everyone was like, I would have liked to know that. Yeah, because we can go back. We did that a couple years ago, and we just didn't, at those years, we didn't change the awards parameters and the guidelines. But okay, getting that back in when possible, and it's not always possible because people add awards last minute too, and we don't want to say, no, you can't. But I think getting more of that in the participant packet is a very doable thing next year. And that's on us. Again, we changed the guidelines.
I was just curious about the venues, because I know they're businesses. We are also our own businesses as artists. I'm just curious, do the Fringe venues, are they considered Fringe participants? I know that there were posts that they were Fringe partners. So it kind of puts the venues, like they maybe don't follow the same kind of, like them being regulated doesn't feel like kind of how we're maybe like regulated per se, like things that I don't know, that are expected of us as fringers. I guess I'm just curious, like, do you kind of understand what I'm saying?
No, I absolutely do.
Okay.
And it's different, but it's not that different. And the same way like same code of conduct applies. The same like a reason that a participant, an artist, would be removed from the festival would be the same reason a venue would. There's like the same lines or in what is appropriate within the community, but at the end of the day, and they're stakeholders in the same way, like in that kind of partnership where it's not like they're investing in Fringe, they're not giving us money and we're not giving them money. It is very much like a marketing partnership more than anything, a shared resource of like, they're offering discounts for the participants. We're helping get participants to see their venue spaces, but offering a discount. Like every venue on the Fringe website is offering a cheaper rate than they do I'm not even
Well, because I think that's getting a little bit into the weeds of things. How our venue relationships work is that our venues, this year we changed our relationship with our venues because we were like, we did. So before we had a venue seat on our board and it was one person and they would speak for all the venues and they would always speak to all the things, right? But when it's one person who's speaking for 30 different spaces, it was really hard for us to get feedback. So we transitioned this year in the middle of the year to decide, okay, we want these 3 types of boards that we have at Fringe. We have our venue advisory board, we have our artist advisory board, which is our access committee, and then we have our board of directors who makes decisions and gives us financial advice. And then we have our staff. So that was like how things developed and how the relationships changed. In developing that, we also were like, somebody was talking to us about what is the minimum requirement to do an award. And we're like, a 50-50 split or better. That's like the minimum to be ticketed on, like to be like a award where you're presenting and people are on stage and they're like, I'm getting this huge opportunity. It had to be something with a 50-50 split or better with no minimums. That then devolved into lots of, there's a tech minimum, so you can have the minimum of 1 tech person. But that devolved into some people not fitting into that model anymore and then still wanting to do their own thing, and then some people not fitting into that model and not wanting to do their own thing and just doing nothing. But at the end of the day, and I guess we'll talk about it more at awards, but I think it's just a little bit more complicated because at the end of the day, the Fringe does end, and it needs to, because at the end of the day, this should not be the end all be all of LA theater. That I think it's become a little bit too much, and I think that's something we can unpack in awards a little bit more, where it's like, how much does Fringe need to work on making these year-round opportunities, and how I don't know. It's hard for us to say. So I just want to provide some context there.
Well, and just to name, like, going off of what you're, because I think it does affect the conversation in general. And like, what are the big plans for Fringe? How can we do better? Something that we've found in the last couple of years in this post-COVID world, where we're all trying to figure out how Hollywood works, but also how the LA theater industry works. And what we are seeing is a really strong shift in, like, Fringe is now one of, if not the only affordable platform to produce theater in LA, because it is just so damn expensive to book. And I mean, because we're not saying it's cheap by any means. We'll never, like, I don't think ever in a town hall will say Fringe is so cheap. No, it's expensive as hell. But it is cheaper than doing a standalone performance where you are responsible for filling a venue Thursday through Sunday for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. And so we have seen a shift in what Fringe has become to the greater community because of that economic shift. And so it's something we're having to constantly try to figure out.
And we're not going to get it right all the time, because we're learning and working against the broken system, just like you all are.
Any other?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you had one more.
So I had one more.
Venue.
Just back to the Yelp option for reviews for venues. I'm kind of torn about it because I can see where it would get into the weeds and really bad, and a venue that like did wrong to one person, it could affect their whole thing from the future. But it was kind of hard to sift through the different people at different venues and really figure out which one was right for me. I had a lot of time to do it, but people who had less time could just make the wrong choice for their show, I think, really easily. So in some way, if there could be like how shows get reviews from people, if there could be like a way on the site for maybe only artists to be able to see reviews from venues that maybe get sifted through from the really bad ones that obviously are too mean or something. I don't know. It seems like that might be helpful in some way, just to at least know this venue can handle a musical, this venue can't. You know, like I had to go through every venue and go, their sound system's bad, I can't do them, or their the Broadwater had too many other sounds in nearby things, I couldn't use them just practically, even though they were beautiful. So that kind of thing, and would be maybe helpful in some way, even if it wasn't defamatory.
Yeah, right, because you see the line, and that's why we're curious. We're genuinely like, what could that look like?
What if without prices there was like a packet and we asked like venues to like give like, because we have it in our website, but what if we made it like easier, like, because when you go to Hollywood Fringe /venues, you can see like seats and you can see like tech capacities. Are there things that were there that you wished were there that weren't, like something like good for musicals or something, like maybe it could be like more friendly descriptors?
Yeah, and they all had different like ways that they listed the prices, so I had to go through each of them and decipher them and then make them into each, to request information.
But yeah, is there anything on that venue functionality really quickly before we wrap up venues?
I mean, I think maybe to circle back on this, like rating the venues thing, you know, again, it can become damaging to a venue, and that's not, you know, what I want to advocate for at all. But, you know, if you are going to a venue, are there like a feedback section from prior years of people that can, you know, say, hey, I used this venue, it was great for my 10-person musical, but they had a basic lighting plot and no LEDs, so whatever. Like, is there an area of like artists that have used this venue reviews kind of thing on the website?
But that also changes, and that's also the thing that's really tough, is that so many of our venues are changing year to year. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in this space, but this space used to have like 3 years ago gray painted floors, no available LED lighting. It was, you know, and it's I my specific event that I did here as a personal person fucked up the floors in this venue. It was paint, and yeah, I think it is really tricky. So I'd want to focus on that, like venue functionality. What infrastructure do we have right now? We have our, actually that's moving us to our next topic, which is workshops and town halls.
Bunch of artists in a room, and you're trying to get shit on time. I know you're gonna get to this. We're gonna talk about Fringe Central, but I chose my venue. I chose my venue because it was walking distance from what I thought was Fringe Central, and I get it. There's so many things behind the scenes. What's the issue? All right. You can't hear me?
I can't hear the response.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Sidebar.
I know.
All right. But yeah, if you could let us know where Fringe Central is beforehand.
And we will when we have the capacity. Like, I really want to remind you guys that this is that yes, perfect world. Yes. And we'll move on. Next.
No, I guess, but to name it, I don't think it's something we can ever promise, because we don't always, like, we're using vacant spaces. Vacant spaces are not vacant for months, and they go, we'll hold it for you. You know, like.
And
so
that's how we do it for $9,000 instead of, and then we're able to put in staffing, which is able to actually respond to the tickets on Zendesk and actually do the thing that we need to do, which is our ticketing function for the festival. You know. Can we move a couple slides forward? No, we're going to workshops.
Workshops, town hall.
Is there something finally? You want to talk about ticketing one more time? Okay, one last thing about.
We never know. No, we never did. We didn't. We stopped. We kind of jumped into ticketing.
Okay, we'll go back
to ticketing. Back to ticketing, and now specifically ticketing.
Oh, did we do ticketing?
No, I mean we technically didn't. We kind of we teased ticketing.
Okay.
We teased ticketing on the website function. Now we'll know. We'll make those one category next time.
Okay. Hi, this is David from my show was Adventures in Caregiving. I was at the Zephyr. But okay. I saw 38 shows. I was on fire seeing shows.
Yes, you were.
I would not have been able to do that had I not also worked my butt off doing comp.
It's so hard to say.
Comp swaps and
Comp
discount
swap,
codes, which was so time consuming. Is there a way, or has this ever come up, that all Fringe participants, we get our own unique button that is just our button that we can then walk up to any box office with our own unique button and get a ticket for $2. We're still putting that way we avoid the whole discount codes, comp swaps. It's something that I couldn't have done that had I been paying full price, and some I did pay full price.
Yeah,
but it was so time consuming.
I will say this is a fun one. So for the new fringers in the room, welcome to the annual conversation about.
This is the 14th annual conversation about artist passes.
I love it. I love it. No, but
So I'm
every
not
year,
unique.
No, you're not. But and every year I feel like we get like. But you are. You're so unique, David.
Thank
but
you.
not here. Not in this moment. And every year
I
we get
came
like.
here to be validated. Thank you.
I'm here for you. Every year, just like ovation. No, bad show. Okay.
Just for us.
Just for us. I'm so sorry. But no, I think every year we get like an inch closer. So by the time Ellen and I retire, we're gonna have a fucking plan on this.
We've been like, okay, during previews, they have a badge, and then they go into a line, and 10 minutes, and then we like talk to our venues, and they're like, are you gonna manage that for us? And we're like, okay, go back to the drawing board. You know,
or
it's
the
one of those-
participants, half of y'all are going to be like, hell yes, I want butts in seats, and I'm so down for this. The other half of the artists are like, no thanks. And how do we manage? And I'm genuinely asking, how do we manage everyone's happiness and make sure, because this is your money too. Because like I'm okay with sometimes you're not going to be happy with decisions Fringe makes. I'm a big girl. I've learned to accept it. But when it comes to your money, I am not okay with that. When I'm taking money out of your pocket.
I get how complicated
yeah.
it is, but maybe there's some place, and this goes back to when we set up our registration page, that there's a box that says we can opt into what you're just talking about, or something. I don't know.
We will continue to to think about it.
We need to have a postmortem just for this issue.
I'm gonna name it. It's probably not gonna happen for next year because it is a massive technological thing.
Yeah, right.
That would take a lot of hours of programming and decision making, and it would also take infrastructure of hours of managing, and it would be specifically managing people's money, and that we don't skip
Totally
hours
get it.
on. With our understaffed nature, I'm gonna just say, I love this conversation and I want to have it, but Fringe isn't there yet. If just for another year or two.
Okay.
But it's in there.
But I have the comp swap technique down.
You have yes.
This is a 5-year plan conversation.
No, but will
this
you
is
write
something we can put into that? It's just I know in the infrastructural change, it will take a massive amount of work.
Will you write a blog for us next year sharing your system? Because I feel like there is those steps before getting to that point of like these little things that like maybe you didn't realize until like middle of May, end of May, like, oh shit, this is something I really want to do and now I'm trying to catch up. And
There was just one day where I was on there all day sending messages to the people that I wanted to see their show. Or can I get a comp swap?
been there.
So yeah, I mean, but it took time.
Yeah. No, I hear you though, and it's always. I think was there.
Hi, my name is Bart. I didn't have a show. I just saw a whole bunch of shows.
Yes. How many shows, Bart? How many shows?
I saw about 60 something. I will say
Snaps for Bart.
I had doubles. I'll just say 76 productions total, but 60 shows if you don't count shows I saw twice, like his show. Okay.
Yes.
I want to say
round of applause
this.
for Bart.
Okay. The service fee, your $3 service fee. Okay. The only way to avoid that is to go to Fringe Central in person and pay cash at the box office.
Hot tip.
I did not know that was an option until I went there for the cabaret show, and I said, how do you avoid the service fee? And someone explained this process to me. Is there a way you guys can advertise this? Because people need to know the service fee is an option. It's not. Guys,
Stop
no.
the feed, Haverty. Stop the feed. I'm just kidding.
This whole thing about the service fee, I told so many people, I said, guys, take your cash to Fringe Central, have the shows you want, have it ready, pay in
It's
cash.
insider knowledge, and that's why we do
Because
it.
no.
Bart, you're killing us, man.
You guys
This is
need
the
to
yellow
have this
curves all over
advertised, but
again.
People need to know, guys, these $3 service fees doesn't sound much as $3, but you advertise $3 times 50 shows, that's $150.
I hear you.
And that kills people. You can see so many shows with the service fees you save.
I hear you, and the service fee does help keep us afloat.
I will say that what you're actually paying for in that service fee is Fringe existing. Yeah. It is paying for Fringe existence. Like I also want to remind you all that part of that goes to covering the cost of the processing fee. And our website itself costs over $50,000 to develop every year. Like, let's think about
to
like
keep it online.
Like, let's
just to keep it out there.
let's like. I just want to name, like, our service fees will not go up. I can promise you that. That is a decision that we've made, but it's going to stay that way. And we can't advertise that, but we're so happy to provide it for artists, people who are supporting artists like you. And we do have that pathway, but we're not going to advertise it because it's more on the DL. I know that you buy a lot of tickets. Come to Fringe Central, it'll be easier.
In fact, next year we'll do a special appointment where we can be like curated experience, Bart's Day at
Bart.
Fringe
Oh,
Central.
you guys need to do something because just for
We
people
got
who
you.
are seeing, and also
Get me on speed dial.
next question. I was just gonna say no, you can't do it, whatever. But is there a way you can do like a Fringe pass just for people like me who see 60, 70 shows? Can you
Oh,
pay like
Bart.
$1,000 and get a pass? Like
with
to see?
with tickets that go from $0 to $50, we really can't. It's just not within our model. That being said, there's so many Fringes around the world that are smaller. There's about 12 shows, 50 shows. They have those options.
San Diego does a pass.
Yeah, and so there's these within, and I do want to remind people we're not the only one. There's other Fringes that might fit your boat better, but for ours, this is our model.
But you know what we do have, Bart? This is just for Bart. Our membership
Thank you.
program that will get you up to 25% off select shows this year. There was over 100 shows that signed up to be a part of that program, and that's the membership program that goes into the artist fund. So it's all just a big ecosystem of going back to the artist. So I'm going to make sure to send you a link on how to do that for next year.
Okay, I really
'Cause
want
then
to
you
keep
will save
going
more
because
money.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
we're gonna go here and then we're gonna go there. Wait, here first because Sam's been waiting.
I've reached the delusional part of the day, so I'm sorry, everyone.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Just type the industry comps and press comps. Maybe it's just the same thing for comp swaps, or for comps. Fringe
Yes.
comps. Just a suggestion. I don't know. They
It's
come in,
the-
people
it's
can
the-
say yes or no.
But both of those programs take a lot of hours to manage, and so it's really the hours.
They're
let's
audited
keep
to
going.
make sure that they can ask, but there's something.
I saw 80 shows this year.
It's not.
What? But
How long have you
but
been holding on to that, Philip?
But I think what would be really easier, and like if something like that was told before, because I think on May 1st I was like nervous and then I just started like asking about con swaps. So I think if we had the schedule, I know that happens later on, but like getting that would have helped me make sure that I even saw more shows, because I think I like saw like that there were shows that came up that where I couldn't go to because I like double swapped or did those things. So having that schedule as early as possible.
Are you talking about the printed schedule, or because technically
Yes.
it's available as soon as shows?
Yeah, I think just having
register?
like a physical like thing, because I think online it made it hard, at least for me, because it was
Oh, I know what you're talking about. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's
'Cause I can see,
we
like-
have the schedule of like day to day, but we
Yeah.
don't make that live until right before the festival actually starts, because that would be really unfair for that show that starts on June 6th.
But it is
9
live.
a.m.
It is live on the schedule tab, so
Yeah.
you can go and see it. You just can't see it from
the
the
front
home
page.
page.
Yeah, but for me it was easier to like see the whole thing, because when you're clicking through like the 80 like pages of it, you're like, oh, it came up again. I don't know where it comes up, so it's having in like a compressed format.
I know what you're talking about. The PDF basically from the printed guide, not even necessarily the print, but like having the PDF of it.
Yeah, in some capacity, really helped me. Like that's how I actually did my whole scheduling, was through that.
It's hard.
Advertise that
Yeah, we
earlier.
can. It is hard. I will say, we can definitely do
I mostly
something
did
earlier,
consults.
but most of y'all don't register until like the last week, which is really tough to get everything in that printed guide on time.
I just really want to move forward. Sorry, guys. We're not halfway through our slides, and we're halfway through this session. Let's keep going. Keep going. Live stream, we know we're going to keep doing it.
Email us if you had a big thing
Email
about
us
it.
if you had a big problem with live stream.
Workshops.
Most people at work this time. Workshops, we had a bunch. Our topics. Wait. Workshops. Wait. Go forward. These were.
All right. With what was it? With workshops.
Mm-hmm.
No, shit. What was the one that we're going on during Fringe? All of these. Okay. Yeah.
This was all prep and then you're talking about
Industry panels. Is that another page? Should I wait for that
Yeah.
page? Okay.
Good talk.
preparation for your Fringe experience. We have 9 workshops, 4 town halls, and 2 web sessions where we go. This is the town hall.
Our 5th one, technically.
Our 5th
'cause we
one,
added a bunch.
where we just say a lot of things. We say so many things. Do you? Is there anything that we missed?
Yeah.
Before Fringe. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I don't know, hot take, not so hot take. I went to all of them.
Yeah, you
I
did.
saw them all. I went to them all. I actually don't know that we need as many. And I know
Ooh.
they take a lot of time and energy to facilitate. There's a lot of there's a lot of how to Fringe, and I think for many of us who went to all of them, we knew that information because we were there. The people who were not were going to be emailing anyway, or we're going to be on the site. No, that was kind of shady, but like I just mean like
You're not wrong.
in general, like because I know you guys' time and resources are so valuable. So and yes, learning how to do Fringe is important, but I feel like I probably could have used a couple extra hours, instead of they were amazing, but just a thought.
Which ones could either be combined or like peace? Because genuinely curious.
I agree, but I also came early and
Yeah.
watched a lot of them. So part of me is like, oh, once we got to the official first one of the festival, I forget what it was called, but it was like
The first town hall one.
the first town hall.
Yeah,
I was like, I went to it going,
Welcome to Fringe.
yeah, I went to it going, we're gonna see the
Great
stuff
title.
now, but it was all the stuff I'd already heard from
Yeah.
the past panels, and there were new people who had never come who were like asking.
Wait,
like,
are
how
you talking
many-
about Fringe Central panel?
the first one at the Zephyr?
No, the town halls. I get it, because we've even toyed with the idea of having a like, oh no, I fucked up and I didn't go to anything panel, where like we just catch like.
Sure, that's good. That's good, because that kind of happened. That
Yeah.
you did offer the you fucked up, you didn't come to the panel, but smattered through randomly. And then there'd be one panel where it'd be like, oh, I wanted to go to that one, but I stayed home because I thought it was going to be the repeat information.
Yeah.
But it ended up being a really good one. or
That's
something,
interesting.
but I didn't get
What are the topics though that were repeated? That's what we need to know.
The
Like, what
basic
did you feel?
information.
What like was it marketing? Was it like registration information?
Naming code of conduct is always going to be in there because somebody always makes it necessary.
That's a hard question.
Yeah, that is kind of a hard question.
People will say that we talk about awards too little too, though. So it's
I
hard to
agree
say.
with that. Actually, I think there should be more about awards.
See, we'll never win. I love it.
Yeah.
No, but this is so interesting because that could be great.
This is just my opinion.
Oh, we have a
Tell us what to cut. We love this.
Don't know if this is useful, but could there be a thing where it's like town halls are coming up or like Fringe season's upon us, maybe in like February? I know the Welcome Fringe is normally January, right?
Yeah.
Ish.
Oh no, it's coming.
I wonder if there's like a thing. I know like only like a percentage of people respond to like Google surveys and stuff like that, but I wonder if there's like a place that we could navigate to where it's like you guys give us like what are things you need to know about accessibility, this and that, and like a voting system or even like an entering like what do I really need to know? Because I feel like we realized having done Fringe last year, like, oh, we do know this from last year, but it's a nice reminder to have this. Like, I forgot about this thing, or I'm hearing about awards a lot, or whatever. Because is there a way to streamline ahead of time for you guys, like, in 2025, what do Fringers need to know?
Yeah. Well, and what about if we?
Or is that annoying?
What if it's like a communication thing where? Because here's the thing: at the end of the day, we're always gonna have new Fringers, right? And so we wanna. Maybe there's a world. Would it be helpful for like the veterans in the room if like we broke it up into like new to Fringe? Here's your list. Like returning, come to these. Like these are.
I
like that a lot.
Well, the event that you guys did in January, where I met Sam there actually, and a few other people, is when you guys had some veterans come in and they came to the tables to chat with us. Even as someone who was my second year, I found that way more useful than I think some of the other like listen to you guys talk events, because it was just like 5 people at a table asking me questions and I could ask them questions. I felt like that was very.
Or I think like having like, I guess this goes to the opposite of what Sam was saying and might add more, but if somebody smarter than me could think about it, that'd be cool. But like if there's, a veteran version of some of these where it's like, we're not going to dig as deep because you guys did it, but here's how budgeting and fundraising changed this year. So even though you're a veteran, here's some stuff.
Or it's the same event, you just come later.
Right. Like, is there,
Yeah.
that last hour.
This is good.
That last hours for veterans come and get the recap.
Because I also
there's
because I don't
something
wanna
here. We're
separate.
cooking. We're cooking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I love this, and And because I don't want to separate either, because at the end of the day, I think the beautiful thing about Fringe is the veteran and new Fringer exchange and being able to share information and learn and grow. But the after dark thing, that's good.
Or even just some of them, I agree.
Yeah.
Is there a way to also then for people to send your questions early so that like you kind of know what people are thinking about so that like you can then kind of, I know that you already have what your things are going to be about, but like you can then be like, oh, a lot of people are still curious about this and they're going to ask questions about it in the Q&A. Let's get ahead of it so we can then like think about it.
Which we did it's easier to do on Zoom.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like it. Yeah.
Good thoughts. I love them. We
good.
have some website commentary really quickly.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's more.
Oh, wait. And then we'll keep going.
Okay.
This is good.
Two things.
Run away.
Okay, Xander was agreeing with basically what you all were talking about, but would it be possible to get a basic outline of what the town halls would cover in terms of making a decision on which ones to attend? So I feel like we addressed that.
We wanted to do that this year.
Maybe sending an agenda ahead of time comes to my head. Okay, and then JLY Music suggested, I would love a mentorship program that pairs seasoned Fringer mentors with first-time mentees. Or some way to pair them up.
I love it. Question, just follow up in it, because a lot of y'all were in that first creative workshop series. We did 2 like panels and then a third. Would something like that be a potential, like, because I'm gonna be honest, 400 shows, we're never gonna be able to pair you with mentors. That just will not happen. But creating opportunities for mentorships to form organically.
More speed dating.
More speed dating. Yeah.
Can't hear you.
Nah.
We used to do them, and then COVID happened.
No,
we had. Okay, I'm sorry. On the day that we had to cancel 2020, we were going to have a hiking about Fringe event, and it was going to be our first one. And Lois and I were like ready.
I was going to finally work out.
and then we were like, oh, this is not a good idea. We should cancel this event.
So I like that. Yeah, but more casual. Yeah.
Back to our roots.
Oh, I've lost.
Can I throw
anything?
something in?
Yeah.
Oh, and this should be a cocktail hour.
Do you have a microphone?
Yeah, I have a microphone. Do you see? Are you annoyed, Ellen? This is a microphone. So I just the whole idea when you guys had everyone around the tables, that warmed my heart. But it made me think of college and orientation. When you went and there was an orientation just for freshmen to get you associated with college, and these are the things. I think that's what Welcome to Fringe is supposed to be. But maybe it's more geared towards first-timers.
We can brand it better.
I like this.
Brand it, little orientation.
With our agendas, Xander, that will go out before our town halls. Yo,
We'll have
this is
some nice
happening.
agendas.
I'm saying it out loud to the ethers. It's happening. Rodney,
See,
please
Internet,
write
we
that down
listen
that
to you.
what's happening. I've made promises.
Well, yeah, and the difference is that it's artists versus the festival directors. And I think, I don't know.
Y'all are better mentors anyway. We haven't done this.
Yeah, there's some kind of like the thought of like an alumni program or having like a little Fringe artist board where there's like little representatives. I don't know. That's kind of, I don't know.
We
That's
have ambassador
that.
program
Okay,
that we've
got
kind
it.
of played with.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like that.
Another thing about the meetups and the bars is that some people were overwhelmed by them. So just a park hang would be less like loud for the people. Half the people like would just be like, I can't do this, or like spend too much money, you know.
I hear it. Yeah, less stimulating. Yeah.
Carly, can we go to the next slide? Go ahead.
Not a big. Just really quick. Does Fringe have the resources to host or to like plan events super off season, like in August or
We
in
do.
September?
Keep an eye out for our
I've been
off-season
busy, Matt.
events.
We do monthly
Cool.
office hours, and then we do a creative workshop series, and then we have a program in Edinburgh this year.
And then I think we're going to be hanging out in the park in January.
And then other than that, we're going to be planning next year. I just really quickly wanted to say that we have some feedback that we did receive is effective ad design. Somebody wanted us to focus more on like how to make an effective ad, which we were like, yeah, maybe that should be like a video or something. Or out-of-towner support. Absolutely, we hear you, out-of-towners. That is one of our number one issues, is figuring out how to connect out-of-towners to a hyper-local festival. We have a hyper-local artist base. It's 90% of our artists are LA County-based. And a panel of publicists and marketing professionals, and specific to just Fringe-specific advice, but having like marketing professionals who do marketing outside of Fringe. So those were some things we were considering. Anything else? Yeah. Hi, Pam.
Hello. This ties
Nice
into
t-shirt.
what you were just talking about, advertising and marketing. I believe, and this is both for new people and for veterans, just what I've seen over the years, they desperately need guidance on how to make an effective postcard, poster, and I mean, most of them are, I know money is a thing, but you can do better. Most of them are terrible.
Canva sponsor
You have
us.
no idea what they are or
Yeah.
anything. But then hooking up with professional PR people, you know, who I know, the ones that I do know do stuff for Fringe shows, cut their rates enormously, but there's you really do need PR, but mostly design.
Yeah.
Design. 'Cause
Question.
most of them are terrible.
Yeah, no, and I'm honestly,
no
I would
idea
love
what
to
the
take the
show is about
class.
or anything.
I would love to take that workshop. Would it be helpful for something like that to obviously get like the panel feedback, something like that, but something like a Canva, and of course like Canva just is something that like most anyone can use with a little bit of training, but doing like a blog and then maybe even a Zoom session where like you watch the YouTube, and I mean I've watched
But I
those
feel
on
like
Canva.
you can do that on Canva, and I feel like maybe it's something that we should point to outside of. I just don't think that's something that. Yeah, I think that's something Fringe needs to do. But I do think we could do an like effective ad design. Maybe pull apart some really effective ads over the last 4 or 5 years and show some examples. Yeah. Would something like that be really helpful?
Sometimes I'm so sorry. The shows I text, sometimes when I have time to go to office hours, which I rarely do, I just have a little sign that says, show me your postcard before you go to print.
Yeah.
And then I have collections from over the years of really good postcard designs and online designs, and just say.
It's also something that's so personal. I'm going to be honest and say some things that people say, they're like, this is the best out of Fringe. I'm like, oh, we're different. And that's what's the beauty of being an artist too. And I do want to name that Fringe will always have that variety within its guide. And it should.
But I think it definitely can come up more in the marketing
Can we
panel.
go
But
to-
moving on.
Can we?
Artist tools?
Do you have
I think just also seeing the printed guide from the previous year would be also really helpful.
It's in all the emails every single time that we try and send by you guys' ads. We have the link to last year's guide.
Oh, but like just like a or like having that at the one of the things, because I just am.
Physical?
Yeah, I'm just like a very touched kind of person.
Usually did, and I forgot this year, so that's all on me. I forgot to bring it. But
Sorry.
yeah, I hear you. Like having something paper copy. Should we go into artist tools and resources? Yes. Okay. Can I do a hands up on this one, just so I know, y'all? Just so we know what is working, what is being utilized. How many people emailed support? Love it. I can attest. You all did. Yes. Nailed it. Who used the supportals? Support.hollywoodfringe.org.
It's like
the
where
articles.
It says like artists and crew. I'm a participant, and it like has all those articles.
Okay. Well, this is great. Not
so
very
we
many.
don't like it, right? Because that's kind of what we're thinking
So
about
we're gonna do
changing.
drop down with these.
So
things.
it's better somewhere else. Yeah.
Did anyone look at the blog? Yeah. Okay. So like investing more time into making sure newsletters end up on that blog would be helpful. Great. Fringe TV. How many people watched the panels and things that they missed? Fantastic. That's not going anywhere. How many people? Oh yeah.
I
However, you've
did
trained us all
try
so
to
well.
watch Fringe TV a few times, but I don't know if I was accessing it correctly, but because I couldn't type a live question for somebody to like hear, see, and I mean, I don't know. Is that
Were you watching it live in the moment?
I
know
don't
it's
know.
a stupid question. I'm so sorry.
I'm
but,
old.
like,
Were you logged in?
It might be that you weren't
Logged
logged
into what?
YouTube, because
YouTube.
we put everything to YouTube. You have to be logged into a YouTube account to comment.
no?
Oh, I bet that was it because they've gotten really weird about spam. And
I was just watching it on YouTube, so I
Yeah.
have to log into YouTube
Log into
to
YouTube, yeah.
send a question. One
Um,
more thing to do.
What about participant packet? Did everyone read that?
Okay, and then with the participant packet, quickly, we broke it down into sections this time, so it was like more manageable. Would it be helpful to pair that with like newsletter kind of stuff? That's something we're looking into doing next year, is like having more newsletter reminders that go from those zones? Or would that be overwhelming in your newsletter to receive? So like when we're in the like before Fringe part, we have like a whole, before you register, you need to do all these things. If we made those into more like palatable newsletters, and so that it matched the two things.
Today we're on participant packet page 42. like
Yeah, like
something
required
to refer back
reading.
to it more, would that be helpful or would that confuse you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then still having the entire packet, because let's be honest, when you
We're not the whole
register on
packet.
April 1st, you still need access to everything you missed. But okay, that's good.
I respond really well to like this bullet points with the barest minimal of information, because reading a lot of paragraphs of stuff tends to get too overwhelming. So whatever you can bullet point,
point.
I think is the best on any page.
And I think specifically, I think we're going to try to do that with our workshops and town halls, making sure that we have that like one cheater, right? Yeah.
Okay, we gotta keep going.
Can I make one quick comment about
Yes.
Fringe
Yes.
TV?
So quick, Brian.
I find that when I did go on Fringe TV this year, I would have loved a separation between this year's Fringe TV workshops and separated from past year's workshops. Because if you go on the page,
It's playlisted.
But I mean, if they're completely separated by page, so that you go to a page and everything's just current on one page, and then all the ones in the past are on separate pages because they're kind of all lumped together. From what I
Yeah, I don't think I can do that.
okay, well then it's Then I'm a
I'll
bit of a
look at
techno-tard. Delete that.
Carly, do you mind if we go to the next slide?
Right. Press reviews. Perfect. Anything about press and reviews, and this we're talking certified reviews, the experience. Okay. We're getting aggressive. All right. Experience working with the press that did register through the festival. Did you add a press release to your page? Did you know that that was an additional function? How did you find your audience could navigate leaving a review easily? Any thoughts on reviews as they are structured? Anything on press?
The one thing
reviews?
we are considering is making the what I didn't like box optional. We're not going to take it away, but making it an optional thing.
So there were some people that saw a show, but one person bought the tickets. Am I understanding it correctly that the person who has the account can leave the review?
So technically, when it comes to certified, like anyone can leave a review, right? Like mom who didn't see the show can still leave a review. It's certified versus uncertified. Yeah, there's no way, unfortunately, because that would be like email hacking to take their information. But what we'll always do for future note, and we can make this more clear in the participant packet, is if somebody emails us and like, hey, I saw the show, my friend bought a ticket. Can I get the certified or the review certified? And yeah, for sure.
We can certify it.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I always forget that. You're right. You can do that. What a smart thing we did.
Anything else when it comes to reviews or press specifically?
Yeah. What I didn't like?
Yeah.
I think a better phrasing would be constructive criticism. It's a little bit harsh, and also like people don't really say what they want to say. They'll just be like, oh, I fell in love with you too hard or something like that. So I think constructive criticism would be a better way to word it.
Yeah, and that's because we do, like, that's what we're thinking with optional. Because it is important, right? At the end of the day, we're all learning, we're growing. You're not on Broadway. Ideally, you do want, like, feedback that's going to make you better. But, yeah. Constructive criticism. I like it.
Like, I like giving critiques, but I don't want to make that public. So I was just, like, I know that you said that, like, send that. But if there was a way that we can then maybe have, like, a conversation about that, because I feel like sometimes you're, like, saving face to then make sure that you're kind of, like in this
private box
in the review site. So like you're reviewing and then it's like, but and that
Why am I
doesn't
seeing the
mean-
worst case scenario in my head already?
I am going to name exactly that. People will be that people without a face to it can be trolls, and I am worried about putting that in the review system.
Especially if we add those attachments to messaging.
No, or, yeah.
No. So when I rent a car from Turo, I can leave a public review, and then I can leave a review to the owner and say, you know what? I would really love it if you cleaned your car, but I'm not going to publicly put that on the review. So you can actually do a review privately to the artist. That's not anonymous. It's still going to be, you could still attach yourself, but it's just to the artist alone.
I don't want to send this to you, but I think it would be great if you maybe structured your show maybe or like so instead of like sending it to the
Let
public.
us chew on it. I think I can be convinced into it, but not today. Next.
Okay, networking Fringe Central is next. Oh.
And we'll talk about industry, and if you have more stuff about press, we can bring it up then.
Yeah, and again, we're not going anywhere. You're going to see us at all sorts
We
of
just
events.
have 30 minutes left and half of the slideshow.
So specifically networking, not Fringe Central. Fringe Central is next. You can get excited to give us all your feedback. But the social media platforms, the in-person office hours, Plunge, 3 clubs, St. Felix, and yes, it's Central. Hotspots during the festival, the Plunge, the 3 clubs, the Hudson
Everything
Theater
but
Lot
Fringe
Me.
Central when it came to networking. Any feedback before we get to Fringe Central?
More parks.
I think social media can definitely be utilized more. Someone suggested if Fringe just did the taps of people tag Hollywood Fringe in their stories, share those, then people can see those on the Fringe page. I don't know. If
We
people were
get
saying things like
tagged
that.
about 100 times
I
a day
know,
during the
it's
festival.
so much, but I guess just that was an idea of a quick way that people maybe could be reached that way. But
Remember that we also run the social media. So
So really, it's us you're mad at. No.
I would love more, and we have an intern that we're taking on this year to kind of for next year, just to put some context, so that we have a
hopefully.
plan for social media that we've never had before. So if there's anything that we should schedule, I like that. If there's any content too that you would like to see, please let us know, because I feel like content ideas are where we are dying.
All right.
Our 2-person show ends here.
No.
Give us the brain, and we'll make it happen. How could we? Maybe we should have a content place where people can submit content ideas.
Great idea.
Like support at HollywoodFringe.org.
All right, so you're talking hot spots, right? You're
Yes.
talking about the 2 places that have bars, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there was 15 or so hotspots.
There was
But
also
yes, those.
Jesse Boys. There's other places as well that are not alcoholic places.
Oh, okay. And going back to whoever it was who said maybe it could all be more contained. I just think
Brian,
you need another bar, like a Fringe satellite bar where people can go and congregate, because where there is alcohol, people will go.
Do you know what's so funny? We're going to talk about Fringe
slide.
Central now.
Slide.
What do you want? We're going to
No,
go through Fringe
and
Central.
genuinely, we have
We
questions.
don't get it.
We don't understand.
So 16% of artists want Fringe Central events and think that Fringe Central is an important part of their experience.
16%.
For the
I just
first time
wanted to-
ever. So just to let you know, we had a robust, flourishing Fringe Central from 2016, before that, too.
2010 to 2017.
2010 to 2017. We took a year off. The plunge opened. Ever since then, nobody has shown up to our bar. We have built bars in parking lots. We have built bars in art galleries.
In
we
La La
have
Land,
built,
right on the strip.
we have built bars everywhere. I don't think. I think that we think we want it, but we want to unpack this in this group because
we don't know. We genuinely don't know.
The data's not showing it, and the showing up is not showing it.
No, at Fringe Central. And so
where it used to be in the past
so-
as well was more central.
Yeah, and so talking Fringe Central, right? So, and the swing this year that we took was at the end of the day, the last 3, and this is not just post-COVID, because post-COVID there's a whole lot of messy data that we know can only be taken so intensely. But in 2019, we had a space right by where the complex was, RIP, and it was empty most of the time. It had a full bar. This was not even just a beer and wine year. This was a full fucking bar, social space that was exactly that, an artist bar. And merch was there and all of that. Nobody came. We maybe had 3 or 4 nights because at the time I was running that space and we did not make, it was not worth it at the end of the day. This year we shifted audience focus. Okay, if maybe artists don't want it, maybe the goal can be to get audience members into your theaters. And again, we're asking questions we genuinely don't know. It did work. More audiences bought tickets at Fringe Central than in all 14 years. Not and that's right, that's great. And we don't even think the experiment is over, because at the end of the day, you have to, with anything, you have to try something and let it stick for a minute so that you can actually see if it works. If we shifted gears every year, we'd never get anywhere.
It's going to be in the same place next year, 90% sure.
90.
We're
You can
not.
talk us out of it.
You can talk us out of it, but if we can make it, and we haven't made a contract, we haven't told Ovation that we're doing that. There's nothing like that.
Haven't
but
told them as if we can. We're doing
as
it.
if we get to decide. But it would likely be in a similar thing. And let's go through some pros and cons really quick. Pros that we liked. Audiences actually came. We sold 5K more tickets than we ever have before. And we think that with work, because we didn't tool it to be an audience space in the way that we would tool it next year.
We learned a lot.
We got free marketing from it, which sold a ton more tickets
That we
than
can't even
track.
quantify.
Through billboards and the physical space, we had so many more conversations with people.
And just like the other day, I had a conversation with a partner wanting to do awards next year, opportunities for artists, for maybe 15 artists. He walked by Fringe Central and went, "What's this?" And so it's even what we don't even realize is.
Well, what stuff was parking?
It sucked.
Which we.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. And it was overstimulating.
And overwhelming noise was a giant problem for us. And that being said, that's something we know and something we could navigate, knowing what space we have. Carly, do you mind if we go to the next slide? Some of the other feedback points was distance from the venues, which again, we're really deeply feeling that maybe our local bar economy needs the money right now, and maybe Fringe doesn't need to be kind of filling that space. And would it be helpful if near every venue cluster we had more of a centralized bar that was like in communication with Fringe? So it's like
that we're not running, but we are saying like this is your safe space, and we're working with the bar for that they know that Fringe is not only it's welcomed and celebrated, and of course it's year-round business too, but creating those art bar pockets.
Thoughts on Fringe Central? Let's have open conversation now.
Give us your worst.
So just a couple thoughts. While I have the mic, I'll do both.
Get comfortable.
So, location-wise, I think for an artist, and if we're gearing that, Fringe Central is more of an audience engagement center, then sure, maybe Ovation is the spot. Obviously, based on the data, it is. But for an artist, I think what was hard was Fringe Central not being at a venue. I think I went to Fringe Central, I could count on one hand this year, where like last year I was always at Fringe Central because I was at 905 Cole to see a show. So I see.
That was the only year we ever had a venue at Fringe Central.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Only year.
So I loved that because whether I wanted to be at Fringe Central or not, I was forced to be there because I was seeing a show, and then I'd hang around. I'd be like, well, I'm here, right? So, but I found myself not, and maybe it's because it wasn't close to venue, so I just felt out of my way. But just as an artist, I felt, there wasn't a great pull to be there all the time, or like during my day. If I was planning my day, I was looking at if I was close to a lot of venues and not how close I was to Fringe Central. Yeah. Full bar. My main purpose of going to Fringe Central is to advocate for my show and not to drink. I forgot my ID a couple of times, and that's on me. But like, I wasn't able to go in, and to me, it's like, are we prioritizing drinking, or can I produce my show? So
we're considering not having a bar at all.
I would love that.
Would you?
And
all
I
be
also, I think.
Oh yeah.
I think about producers that are 21 and under, like they're being, or 20 and under, like they're being restricted of that opportunity to produce their show for the sake of having alcohol. And, we pay the registration, we pay the venue, we're putting all this money. And then if you can't even show up to pitch your show. So I think having the bar is, it's not really the reason we're doing Fringe.
I thought having Fringe Central at Ovation was great. I love that it was audience facing. Yeah, well, because I think we need to remember, like, we want paying audience members, which is a huge struggle artists have. That was one of our biggest conversations constantly, was like, how do we find audience members? How do we sell tickets? Yeah. So being on Hollywood Boulevard, being in Hollywood, being near Pantages, I could see, Abel even mentioned when we were talking about like maybe a Fringe kiosk that kind of rolls around. I could see a Fringe
talk about it too.
But like NoHo Arts District, or like, if there's some spot downtown where like there are like hubs where people are who will buy tickets. Like, I think that's where the focus needs to be, because I think the Fringe community, we're going to congregate no matter what. Like we already have our spots. We're going to see each other. Like, we have the office hours that we're going to be passing out our flyers. So
and we're never going to stop doing those. Like.
Yeah, totally. So I think Fringe Central being the hub actually for the public to access it, maybe I really like that. Thought that was really smart, like business wise. So
does anybody, if we didn't do a bar, and please continue with other comments, but if we didn't do a bar and would you still want us to do artist development events there, or have it be completely
and especially focusing on May,
not in June as much, but more like artist development, making sure that there's like more things, and then also having more cabaret type things where you can actually pitch your show more
like performance-based opportunities.
I like it anywhere. It doesn't matter where it is, as long as the workshops or the opportunities are happening, whether they're a theater, because then I get to experience the theater more while I'm figuring out which theater to go to. That really helped me figure out which theater I liked or didn't like, is going to them. The kind of like second Fringe Central felt like the Broadwater, because I was there all the time for shows. And so I was able, if I wanted to be a drinking Fringe person, just be there. And a lot of people sold their shows just by standing outside the Broadwater for a while. And so that kind of felt like a secondary artist marketing opportunity. If there could be a Fringe Central right near the Broadwater, but that's obviously incredibly hard. But it did feel like it was either like Ovation Place or that hub. I did like the Ovation. I did like going there. I didn't sell any tickets for like my show specifically, even though I know generally more tickets were sold. So it didn't feel like me going there would be me selling tickets to the audience. It would be me connecting with Fringers wherever they ended up being. So I would just go wherever they ended up being, whether it be Ovation or one of the show places. That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, that's interesting. We're learning so much.
I know I already talked, but I'll be quick because it's kind of like going off of what you were saying, like maybe not Fringe Central, but the slide before about office hours, like possibly having some office hours hosted at venues. One, it gets people seeing different venues to plan maybe for the next year. Two, I think there's more space. It's a little quieter. There's not general public. And again, that like necessity of food and alcohol, like of course it brings us all together, but I think those environments become extremely overstimulating, and it's this, you're kind of shouting and like pitching and pitching and pitching. And I think a venue, like a couple of people could sit back in seats for like 40 minutes and really connect and have this chat and connect with other Fringers, rather than like a couple, office hours we'd leave having like really connected with only 2 people, but we thought it was like a failure because we didn't connect with 15 or something. So like if there could be, I guess, more casual office hour spaces like a venue rather than a bar all the time, where it becomes a little overwhelming and
And I
overstimulating.
think naming just venues are tricky because they're expensive. People
Sure.
rent them, right?
sure.
But I think we can, more coffee shop vibes, more options.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know that we have here and here.
Just to copy everything that's being said, like it was once we moved from the bars to Fringe Central, it became this screaming match of how loud you could scream in a like a neon lit place or a fluorescent lit place. It was not fun.
No, I know. We
Yeah.
even tried the sound things that we brought from Timu. God, shameful. It was the only thing we could afford.
Well, if that's Fringe Central, it will have different soundproofing. We didn't know. We'd never done it.
Hi, Christopher, first time Fringer. Thank you. Most of my feedback is already covered. I think people have said some really smart things already, so mine's is just very tiny. I really like the parking validation. That was amazing. Just because I'm new to LA and parking is I barely understand it, and so it was nice to just go in, get a ticket. I didn't have to worry about it or have to run out and like pay the toll. I don't know what value that does to everybody else's comments. That's like. Have you seen my show? Have you seen my phone? Listen, I bend the rules. Anyway, I'm just saying I liked it, appreciated it. Just small comment. Everybody else was saying I really liked the kiosk thing that Sam was saying. That's about it.
So that's good to know. So for artists, like with the 4 hours, it wasn't a problem. For the days you did go to Fringe Central, $3 seemed fine. Great. Oh, fantastic.
Yes, Bart.
Is there a way you guys, I know you guys don't get a heads up very early, but if you know there's something going on, like at the bowl, or if there's something traffic-wise or Hollywood Boulevard's being shut down, can you put something on the website that says, hey, we have an event tomorrow, there's going to be traffic, the street's going to be shut down, or there's an event at the bowl, leave early, just something about
We were
anything,
supposed to be
because,
on
guys, so
calls
many times the
that
street was
just never
shut down, it was
happened.
crazy.
Yeah,
we were
no, I hear
supposed to
you.
be on calls with Ovation that they never were able to get us on, and it is something.
I don't think that they ended up
and
doing
then
the
and then we found midway through the festival a website that lists it all. So yes, next year we will utilize that website and utilize the power of the internet to kind of predict that. But again, it was just something we'd never dealt with before, so something that we wouldn't do that. But it is a good comment.
Yeah, because it was problematic on our end too, trying to load in from the parking garage is very different than Hollywood Boulevard.
Marketing. Let's move on. Sorry, guys. Do we have any last comments that are different?
Just thank you for.
We had it for multiple years.
So many years. Naming when it's outdoors, it has to go back indoors.
And that.
Oh yeah, I mean we've done patio spaces, and I think in general we're. Yeah.
We do love St. Felix.
Holla, John.
And we'll be going back to that kind of space. We used to we've even toyed around with maybe trying to get into some rooftop spaces. It's just also finding accessible prices for alcohol or for drinks or non-alcoholic drinks. A lot of the bars in Hollywood have inaccessible pricing. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think I think it'll happen if people want.
I also feel
would
like
love
with
parking.
I would love that too, and I do want to name that those are just going to have to be less official fringe events because we can't permit a park. We can't do those types of things.
But it can become to this like more of an off season. I think for an off season, totally doable. Marketing.
Oh, before we have one comment here.
Just want to say I love that it was really accessible by Metro.
Me too. Yeah. And you could take the Metro straight from there to like right over here. It was great.
It was
I walked
Central from Thymele we've ever had.
I
Like,
have
being able to-
never walked and taken the Metro so much as I did this fringe. It was a
I
more
never
accessible
parked.
fringe.
Every time I went to Fringe Central, I never parked, and
Yeah.
I had an amazing
I walked.
experience. So I just want to say that.
I love that.
Marketing. This is what we do as a festival. Is there anything here that we're like, yes, we're going to up our social media game, up our sponsored and paid ads. We're thinking about maybe doing some influencer type stuff. How do we break into the influencer game? Our PR person talked to us about it, and we're like, great, tell us how to do it. We have a whole slide for the printed guide, so don't worry. We're not going to talk about that. But is there any feedback in terms of these things or things you want us
Or
to do more of?
ideas. Like, what are we not thinking of?
I mean, let's talk about the influencers. And I know we're all gonna. I get it. I completely get it. But that's where the audience is.
100%. Yeah.
My
Ellie in a
argument,
minute, right?
My argument is that like we need like 10, 15 influencers who treat us like we're Taylor Swift. They need to come in. They need to.
You are Taylor Swift.
They need to be covering the festival. They need to be getting all the stories. They need to be excited because that's where young people are.
Well,
Period.
even LA in a minute. We had our first influencer this year. But it racked up more likes than I've ever seen on a social media page.
And I think for us, it's going to be more of those like individual, like shared posting. And I think I don't know what it's going to look like, but it is something we're deeply working on with our PR team.
If you are one or know of any, it's like if they're in the wild. I don't know.
We will connect you with people. They cost a lot of money. And like we will not be able to do paid partnerships. Like it's just not something that we would put our money into at this moment.
If you share our mission.
We're done.
Yeah. Marketing idea, I think official or unofficial events and collabs with like karaoke bars, stand-up or storytelling open mics where fringers can do a 5-minute set, do a song. I know Melrose Trading Post was like a one this year, but it's kind of on the down low.
It was a first
Well, because
try,
we were
yeah.
trying it and we didn't know how it's going to be, but that is our major.
we'll
That
do-
is, I think, our next thing is that we want to do more outreach events, like your kiosk idea.
Yeah.
Mixed with the busking, mixed with cabaret, but in like organized spaces where people can just go and do little bits of their show and get audience.
And even, do you want this? We're speaking in draft. No promises here.
No promises. This is just on our brain.
But this was like the last 2 days we've been thinking of. Would something like we do off-season office hours once a month? That way, people who are trying to get into the fringe spirit early, ask questions early, they have a place to do that. If you miss each other, you have a place to do that. We're toying with the idea of doing more cabarets like monthly in the off-season, both for like. For you to try out new material for a future festival, or quite frankly, to build our local economy. If we can connect business with arts, I think we're all going to maybe survive in Hollywood longer. Is that like is that peak interest of like, would people want to do that?
Yeah, well, and I think like a lot of them can have. There's so many karaoke bars. There's so many open mic spots. Like so many of us host our own shows. Like there's so many people who do that. If they're out in the world where there are paying audience members or people who will buy tickets, like just those are the people I feel like we need to reach.
Even if it's just an investment of like follow me, right? Like getting that, building that buzz. Yeah. Okay, good to know.
I'm going to name that we have 10 minutes left.
Okay, marketing. And remember, we're always available.
Like if there's a way to like build like the road to fringe, like even like start, because I know like I also came early, but if there was a way to like then start the content also early, so like you kind of like
what content?
Like where you are in the process to like kind of like get people excited on social media to then get or like I know like podcasting is like really, but something like so that would be but
You only have 10 minutes. You only have 10
But yeah, I think a lot of like other like stand-ups are also like making shows of like other fringers and all the things, but like getting those as early as possible to then push that along.
Yeah, no, I dig that. And now that we are full time, that might be something we can actually do compared to the past. Yeah.
Question, and if it's okay, marketing. Do you guys? How does Fringe reach out to colleges, universities, or even high schools already? Like, is there a marketing plan in that space?
Yeah, not high schools, because we have to be 18 plus. Messy.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
But colleges, yes.
Is it a thing where it's kind of like, just tell students that Fringe is a thing, or is there like a way that I wonder if there's a platform or something that can be created to where like it's more of a board that maybe us as artists can individually remind UCLA or whatever, like come see our American Tragedy or this and that. I don't know, but just like little thing to consider more.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's again capacity and figuring things out. We have our people who are actively sending work too, because honestly, with when it comes to student work, it's who's funding it, you know, especially for students. So the schools that are funding it definitely have that pipeline. And I think some that don't. We'll just have to build those pipelines.
For Guide, can we do a quick hand raise thing? Yeah. Okay, so for Guide, and this is every year, because I'm going to name, like, the Guide is expensive AF. It does pay, it basically every bit of money you put into the Guide via Guide ads, things like that, that's what pays for the Guide. So it is a huge cost, but it is a warranted cost if everyone likes it. Raise your hand if you think that printed guide is important. Oh, hell yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. How many think the guide, the 8th page guide ad was important? 8th page guide ad.
So yeah, like we used to only have quarter page or larger, and we made an 8th page ad to make it more financially accessible.
So cheaper options for advertising in the guide. Yeah. If there's going to be a guide, yeah. Okay, so can I get those hands one more time? How many people don't think we should do the guide? And like hard no, don't do it. Okay, how many people are on the fence? Okay, thank you.
And what about your hand if you find it to be important to your Fringe experience?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay.
It's so mixed. Okay, we're gonna keep going. I'm so sorry we can't unpack further because and then TL, I want to shout out in the chat. You brought up an accessibility point. We're about to get to accessibility. Yes. We will chat about that in our access committee meeting as well because we have to change some access things. But let's talk about accessibility box. That box that goes there. One of the thoughts that we had was it goes into your will call list. Is there a different maybe email system that also needs to happen at that same time when that person purchases a ticket? With that and things like that to help make sure that those requests are being met.
Hey, heads up, you got this.
And another thing is making it just more clear what that box is for. We kept it vague based on the feedback that we had gotten and how people wanted to request those tickets, but now the accessibility box is being used for things like print me out a press release or things that are not accessibility requests.
Which is great, but yeah, not the intention. Yeah.
Any other thoughts on accessibility? And I promise, CL, I will get to you. I'll email you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Will call, message patrons, this and that. If there's even just a button added there that just says accessibility requests, maybe that's all it is. Plus the email, automatic email, I think would be great.
How many people are reading their will calls? Okay, good.
Okay, great. Carly, do you mind going in a few more slides? We did events. We'll talk about awards. Voting, the ceremony, the whole thing. Give us your worst.
By the time the topic of awards came up, I was so overwhelmed that I didn't submit myself to anything because it came at the wrong time for me personally. I was so exhausted from just trying to get my show up and rehearsing and everything that I just didn't have enough energy to do that.
When would be a better time?
Well, now that I have a whole entire Fringe experience under my belt, I know what to expect. But when we were in the thick of it, I'm going like, oh, I can't do this as well. Yeah. It was just overwhelming.
No, that's fair.
So, okay. here's one little thing. I think there should be like a clowning category or like an experimental category for awards. That could be fun. Okay, yeah.
Breaking down that solo monolith.
Yes.
And also taking, like, we used to have ensemble, and then like now it's drama and comedy, but maybe it needs to be a little bit different. So categories, that is something we need to think about.
And I think
and we'll put like maybe a poll together or something, so it can be
social content. And I think like if I don't know, I got COVID when I was supposed to submit to the awards, and I guess if I realized that like the Discover Fringe Awards were kind of that was the gateway to the real like world, like those are the real world opportunities are the Discover Fringe Awards. I don't know, that didn't really process in my brain for some reason. So I guess just kind of really understanding that like these awards and who are presenting these awards, like these are the gateway, because I know we had the industry panels and things, but actually those awards are the people who are coming to Fringe and wanting to be a part of the Fringe participant experience. So those people too, I think we could do panels with those people so that we know just kind of what the dealio is.
We did.
Oh, okay. Did I miss that? Was I?
It was during the festival, because it's when they're around, you know. And that's also the truth, is that it's really, really, really hard to get industry or people who are already investing all of that time to do anything before June.
Oh, I just really quick wanted to say thank you so much for having the ceremony on Monday this year instead of having it on Sunday. That was amazing. Yeah, big game changer. Thank you.
Decided last year. Okay, that's what this town hall decided last year. So thank y'all. Like these.
The 7 of us decided, and actually Xander decided. It was Xander decided
And
that.
Xander and Barry were big, right? Like, yeah.
Thank you, Xander.
I love it.
All right.
Yeah.
Is there any way? Because I think that what like the awards and the best of and all those things, it's this really wonderful way to, I guess, let outsiders know, hey, these are shows that have been vetted and they're good, and hopefully therefore sell more tickets. Obviously, everyone wants to win, everyone wants their show to be good, but I think just from a pure marketing standpoint, having like a panel of judges saying, hey, we saw everything at the Fringe, and these are the top 200 shows, which I know, I hear you guys back there, Matt Quinn. It's just so effective to sell tickets.
Why don't you do it?
Great, I will.
Do it. That's
Watch me next year.
you know? Yeah.
But we had. Well,
and that's what I think is really true with awards, is that we do curate like some of these things, and especially when it comes to the opportunity, that is what we have control over.
Yeah.
But we want more of that to exist, because if I'm being honest, the way that we're going to have a good LA critic system that we don't have in LA theater right now is by having critics start at Fringe. Because somebody like Ed Hong, I don't know if you know Ed Hong, the critic, started doing Fringe reviews like 6 years ago at Fringe, and we were like, oh my God, this person's such a great reviewer. And then we were just in an East West Players meeting the other day, and they were like, Ed Hong is such a good reviewer and has been now elevated to these larger spaces. So if you're seeing these gaps, we're not going to tell you not to fill them.
Well, but I mean, I don't want to have a fight in the middle of the room, but didn't we have something like that? And then you guys said, like, let's do it differently this year?
So what are you meaning?
Well, I mean, best of. It was called Best of Fringe. It wasn't officially sanctioned by the Fringe. Matt and his judges. The Encore series. Yeah. I mean, so that's exactly what I'm suggesting, and you said I should do it. Well, we had it.
But he did it.
Okay. Well, then bring it back.
No, it happened this year. I don't understand what didn't happen.
There's all sorts of different things. I know. There's all sorts of different, and so no, like there's like Asylum or Combined Art Forums have one, and then the Best of Broadwater, there's one.
Sure,
one
but
year
like
there was
if
the
some
Best
theaters
of
have their
LGBT
own system,
Center.
if other theaters don't have their
Yeah.
other system, it just was far too confusing.
And it always will be naming, and the thing is, we don't, and it wasn't. It did exist, and we're so glad these things do exist. We can never run them because we cannot manage them and make promises, or I mean, it got very confusing as to what the rules were, and we didn't run it, so we didn't always know the rules, and there was no, it's not like an award where there's, like I said, now there's a minimum for an award. If it's going to be on the stage of Hollywood Fringe, we have to at least be able to promise a certain expectation. And then they change, but we have to be able to promise an expectation if it's sanctioned by Fringe. I hate that word sanctioned, but you know.
So like the compromise was, because we didn't want there to be opportunity that went away, was that we were going to have our official industry awards with this minimum, and then anybody else feel free to use our site, including people who didn't get encores. And to be honest, at this point, I don't even know if that's something we want to do in the future, because I don't know if that's what our team needs to be spending money on, is continuing a ticketing site going on, or should we be reinvesting into next year's opportunity and creating more opportunity? That being said, so I'm not like promising that even that part is going to remain the same, like how it operates on the ticketing site. What will not change is that it is a 50-50 split or better, with a tech minimum being the only requirement, and that's all that's required to do an award. It's all that's required. And then everybody else can do anything else that you want, and we can have all of these programs. They just can't exist under our platform, because that's our organizational
against the way the Fringe works.
Yeah.
It's against the role we play. Like, at the end of the day, if you think about it, like, we're a platform. We are not the deciders of what the best theater is. We are merely we look at ourselves as a support system. And even the awards, like we facilitate awards happening. We're not giving out opportunity. Like we facilitate a voting for the community awards. So that is facilitated by us, but we're not necessarily managing any sort of judges for it. It's happening automated on the system. And then the awards, yes, we are auditing. Like, hey, if you want to present an award to an artist at Fringe, on the stage at Fringe that we announce on our platform, it has to be this or better. That is the one, because at a certain point we have to create guidelines. Otherwise, we no longer have a system.
That line and drawing that line with our partners took longer than it should have, and that's any change, but it's not going to change anymore. So please do all of these things, but there is a line that we have to have.
I think there's even
and you can look at there's some press people who even do like Fringe awards on their own, and they do their own set of things. I know that Broadwater did their own thing with like Best of Broadwater was different than they did it during the festival. I don't understand what was happening. To be honest with some of these things, they're new and people are trying new things, and that's just what happens when new things happen. I will say, yeah, it's tough. Being an artist is tough. Having opportunity after Fringe is really tough, and that's something that we're really trying to navigate, is how do we make sure that when we're promising opportunity, there's a minimum we're promising. And that was what we were running into, was when we were doing our exchange awards. It's a free run. You get all these things, and then putting it next to something else, and these two people got different awards and got completely different experiences, and then we had that feedback session with people last year. They were like, this is an award and this is an award, and they're completely different opportunities, and this is a pay to play and this is not. Because if it has a minimum, it can be considered a pay to play. I get that thought process. And so for us, we're like, fine, no minimums. This is what it is. That's how we're going to do things, So it's opinion to opinion too.
Should we go through programs real quick? Or?
We have no time. It's 9:05. If you have more feedback for us, please email us.
Is there any, like, we didn't cover it and you are like, you've been holding on to it this whole time? Again, remember, we're accessible. We're gonna see each other again, and we are taking feedback all the way until the festival starts next year.
And if you want to have deeper conversation with us as an artist, join our Access Advisory Board. Applications will be open, and we have 4 meetings per year where you go over actual Fringe policy with us, and it's open to people who want to make Fringe better.
Yeah.
Just one quick question. This is mainly for all of the artists that are here that did a show. I set a sort of a dollar amount that I was going to spend. I went over that. I did not make a profit. Did anybody in this room make a profit on their show? You did. How many shows did you do? Okay, that's encouraging. I just wanted to find out is it even possible? 3.
Felt like for all the work we were doing with rehearsals and investing, that 5 felt like the nice middle between the 3 to 7 of like, it was just a nice middle point, and we profited both years, but more this year.
60.
Yeah, 48 fixed, we could go up to 60.
don't know if that helped you just knowing that, but
We upped our ticket price from last year. We felt like we didn't charge enough last year, so we kind of treated that as like a, what could we change what we did last year, and we looked at what was realistic for our audience. Different show.
And no, too, because I think that is really valuable information, and especially when we're talking about next year, when we're talking to brand new fringers that don't have all of the lived experience y'all do in this room. Like, we produce the annual report, both so, like, you can see, like, oh, what is this organization we trust, like, the weirdest cult in LA. We break down the numbers of, like, where the money goes and where the money comes from. But then additionally, people can decide how to participate or to participate in future years based on sell-through rates, based on, like, the average show, like, the average make your money backwards. There it is.
And it didn't change this year from last year. The average ticket price sold was $10, and the average ticket price listed was around $15.
Well, I asked that question with no criticism or judgment against Fringe at all.
important
It's just
information.
that, I just wanted to know from other people's experience.
Yeah. No, and I think that was my way of, like, giving you props, because that is an important question. And I think you, like Sam said earlier, you're business people. Like, this is a business. And so to be able to, like, it's important for us to be transparent so that we're a transparent part of your business transaction.
well, I was just gonna quickly say, there's a bigger conversation on marketing and stuff, but really like crowd thing. It's like, get your show paid for. Like, don't spend a dime on your show out of your own pocket. That way, all those ticket sales come back to you. And that's not easy. Like, I'm just saying it. Like, it's getting your show paid for by other people, other entities through some kind of crowdfunding. So that way, the day you hit that stage, that money is coming to you, and you haven't spent anything. And that's December through May is doing that, and making sure that other people are paying for your show.
And it's also not fair that is necessary. I want to name it is not fair, and it's not gonna I'm just being honest. Being in the rooms that we've been in, I don't see the funding structures in LA changing.
It's terrifying.
I just do not. I do see Fringe having more and more programming where we're paying artists as much as possible. Like, I do see us having more artist funds. I see us having more scholarships. I think it is going to be
it's going to be a tough few years, as I think we all have to brace for figuring it out together, surviving to see what the future becomes, and making it happen, insisting upon what we need, what we deserve as artists, and telling our government to fuck off or give us the money.
Hashtag survival mode.
Well, yeah. Well, just one last thing. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing, actually, when people ask me whether they should do Hollywood Fringe or not, is I say, do you have money to put on the show? Because it was the same for me. I got donors for my show, so I actually didn't spend my money. So I did make a profit, like for my business, but again, it was fully funded by somebody else. So I think actually the numbers that would be really valuable for future Fringers is not ticket sales, but how much it costs to produce a show. Because at the end of the day, those ticket sales it's mostly not profit for us. It's just filling the tiny gap in the big bucket that we spent. So,
and we have that, but introducing it before, I
We
think
have
could
it
be
in the
helpful.
budgeting workshop, and I think it might be too late then. I think in February it might be too late.
Yeah. It should be like a
go in the
registration.
And I think that was something we noticed during the budgeting workshop this year. We were like, this is too late.
Felt mean at that point. So this is, y'all,
sorry.
But thank you. And please, again, the door is open. The email is open. Continue to have. No, I'll ask you later. But thank you for being here. It's noticed that there are 400 shows. It doesn't matter. There are 400 shows, or almost 400 shows, and y'all are the ones who took your time to share your ideas to get feedback. And so thank you for helping make the festival what it will be next year. Awards on Tuesday. Just kidding.
Email us if you have other thoughts. Continue to fill out that survey. We're going to continue to pull from it. Bye.
We love you.
Oh, it's keep it from rolling.